And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're talking about money. Today we're talking about hyperinflation. We're talking about Trump. We're talking about gold. We're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about what I think should be the next thing you should be doing in terms of preparing yourself for the financial collapse. We truly are in the last inning. We really are at the last stage before the collapse. This is all my opinion. This is not financial advice, just for entertainment purposes only. But I think it's important that we understand what is going on and understand how to best safeguard ourselves, our families, and the future generations. So let's first talk about what I believe is going on with Trump, because I believe that he knows exactly what he's doing. If there's something that I've understood about Trump, is that he reads a lot. And I personally believe that he's one of the greatest patriots out there right now when it comes to the Constitution. And if you think about hey, Mysteriously Kind, what's up? What if you think about what's been going on in the last decades of the US government? This has been unprecedented time in terms of when Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard. That was a huge thing that was going to have huge repercussions throughout the world. And the world knew about it at the time. Like, you had de Gaulle in France, who was like, what is going on? Like, basically America is screwing us over because of what they're doing and taking the dollar off of the gold standard, and basically saying that, there is no value to the currency, to the fiat currency that's going on. And because of that, other governments, in order to compete with America, had to do that too. And so what Nixon did in 1971 has huge repercussions until this day. Because if you look at the trajectory of how much the dollar is worth compared to gold, and it's not looking at, oh, how much can I buy gold for today? It's looking at how much the dollar can buy you compared to gold today. That's what you need to look at, the purchasing power of the dollar. And if you look from, there's a fantastic website for this, or you can, I searched for the tagline, how much is gold worth, or how much is the dollar worth in gold today, the true value of gold and the true value of the dollar. And what I came up with was monetarygold.com, and I just looked at it, and it was talking about how the dollar has literally lost 96% of its value since 1913. So between 1913 and 2013, it had lost 96% of its value, or your purchasing power. That's huge. And because of this, they have now trained the people to believe that inflation is good for the economy, because then things will continuously grow. Not so. Things will continuously decline in terms of purchasing power. And the only people who will benefit from it are the people who have invested in assets, people who have invested in stocks, in real estate. And they're the only ones that are seeing their wealth grow. However, that's going to stop. There's going to be a tank, because people have, like, you basically get uneducated investors, people who are throwing their money into the stock market, throwing their money into real estate, and borrowing money in order to succeed in stocks and real estate, because there's no end to it all. They don't have to pay any interest rates on these loans that these rich people are getting. So it's just like the bubble has massively increased. I believe Trump knows this. In my opinion, he knows exactly what's going on, and he wants us to return to the gold standard. That's, in my opinion, what's going on. So if you look at it from the standpoint of, he knew this before he became president, 4 years ago. He knew this. And what it wasn't even 4 years ago, was it? But soon it will be 4 years. But He knew this, and what he was talking about was draining the swamp. He was going to be against, the status quo and against what the government has been doing for all these years. And then he enters into office, and it looks as if he's doing the exact same thing. He's increasing the debts. He's basically massively funding military. He's over leveraging with a lot of things, right? And people are like, oh man, he's exactly the same as everyone else. Is he though? Because you got to understand that once he gets into office, this is the most difficult job in the entire world. And as such, he has to work with the people that are already there. Okay, so once he gets into office, he has to get people on board with his vision. And as you've seen, the Democrats over the past 3.5 years have been very opposed to what Trump has been doing, to the point that they wanted to get him out during his term. But you can see that Republicans were also against him during that time frame leading up to the elections when he became president. And then suddenly there was a switch. Suddenly, like over a few years, now suddenly Republicans were also on Trump's side. What were the steps that Trump took? Again, this is just a hypothesis, what I'm thinking about that he did. But in his brain, he was thinking, I think, step number one, let's keep the interest rates as low as possible. Now, you might look at this as something that's it's obviously good for the economy, right? It's gonna fuel the bubble even more. Crazily amounts it's going to increase upwards. And that's because people can now borrow money for free. And we know that money doesn't even exist, right? It's just air, it's just paper. But but it gives you the opportunity to buy real assets. So what happens is that if you allow the interest rates to be to just go to just it's infinite, there's no real value. We keep the interest rates low, things are going to exponentially increase in terms of wealth. It's just not wealth, and that's going to exponentially decrease the value of the dollar. Donald Trump knows this, and as such, I believe that his goal is to create hyperinflation. Why would he want to create hyperinflation? Wouldn't that put America in a very, very difficult situation? Absolutely. What do you think is required in order for them to drain the swamp? How is it possible to take the power from the bankers, take the power from the politicians, and give it back to the people? The only way is for the dollar to be reverted to the gold standard. And what he had to do is to be on board, or basically tell the Fed that keep the interest rates low, keep the interest rates low, keep the interest rate low, so that he would put pressure on the Fed to do that, because the people, they obviously want the economy to keep going. And now they believe that, hey, if the interest rates are low, then the economy goes fantastically. Donald Trump knows that this is a fake bubble. He inside his brain, he has to tell the people, he has to tell everyone that this is fantastic for the economy. Everything is great, everything is awesome. Because if he doesn't, if he basically states the truth and is transparent with everything that he's doing, then he's not going to manage to get everyone on board. Does that make sense? Like the politicians don't know very much. It looks like have they really studied history? Have they really studied business? Have they really studied the art of war? Do they really understand what it takes in order for you to win? Donald Trump has, and he's studied history. He studied a lot of these things going on, to the point now where I believe he's creating hyperinflation on purpose so that the economy can massively tank, for the dollar and the gold ratio to link together once again, which means most probably the gold is going to increase by 25 times its value today. So we're talking about Obviously, right? If you see the link, if the dollar has decreased 96%, then obviously in order for it to become a one-on-one with the dollar again and with gold, it has to times by 25. That's 2,500% increase in the next few years. Do you understand what's happening here? He wants it to tank, but at the same time as he wants it to tank, he wants the economy to completely collapse. He also is very, very adamant on getting the Great Wall up, right? The Great Wall of America. And he's very adamant on increasing his military, right? Allowing the Second Amendment so people can have their guns, allowing the everything to make sure that America still has power, still has firepower, still has the ability to protect itself and to protect its people and for the people to protect themselves. He doesn't want the government to intervene in your life because he's been a businessman all of his life. And I know what the richest man in Norway has continuously said for years when asked the question, what is the hardest thing that you've had to do throughout your life? Figuring out government intervention. That's what Olav Thun, the richest man in Norway, has continuously said. That's what Donald Trump has experienced as a businessman. He knows that in order for the people to have the power to turn back to the Constitution, he has to drain the swamp. The only way to drain the swamp is to fix the status quo and to take care of this bubble and to prick the bubble in order for it to completely depreciate. This is a completely different time we're living in because Donald Trump is doing things that no one has ever done before. Everyone who's been in power has not been strong enough to do that which is necessary to deflate the bubble. And that's what I believe is happening right now, which is why we need to talk about gold, silver, and Bitcoin. But we're going to talk about mostly gold and Bitcoin. But the point is precious metals, okay? So these are my thoughts. Let's answer questions first, and then I'll go into the Bitcoin and gold. What do you think about the coronavirus? Okay, yeah. I'll go through the question. I just need to read through them. I love Donald Trump. Trump arguably the greatest president ever. Coronavirus bad. Where do you think it comes from? The dollar has to go back to the gold standard. Think it's man-made. Comes from China. Was made in. Okay, if you want to know about the coronavirus, in my opinion, I've been following Valuetainment. Patrick Bet-David has interviewed amazing people in the last few weeks, like insane amounts like of interviews, and the interviews are flippin' awesome. They last 2 hours. They're with people who know exactly what they're talking about, who are speaking the truth. And Patrick Bet-David is a libertarian at heart. Now, I believe he also votes libertarian, but who knows? But those interviews, if you follow them and you understand what has been going on, I believe that the coronavirus was a pandemic. This is me personally. I don't even want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's not even being conspiracy theorist, it's being realistic, understanding what's going on. Like, it doesn't make any sense why the governments would be so freaking out about the coronavirus, even though there are some people who like just simply listen to their leaders, right? So for example, politicians in Norway could really be working from a transparent heart and like, we need to save the people, we need to save the old people and all that stuff, and let's use as much oil money as possible in order to save the people and save jobs and bail out big companies. But they're doing the worst possible thing they can for the economy. Okay, like, it's not good bailing out these people and what's happening, but they're listening to their leaders. Understand that even though you're the highest leader in a country doesn't mean that you're not listening to what everybody else is doing and following the mainstream. The mainstream is to take the coronavirus very seriously, which we had to do, by the way, in the beginning because it was new, right? Like, if a virus comes into your country, you have to take it seriously because you don't know what it is. It was completely new. It's a novel virus. However, within weeks, we began to figure out the true aspect of coronavirus in terms of statistics, in terms of saying that, oh, it doesn't actually kill that many people, and it's actually not that harmful as we thought it was. And if it's not that harmful, then we need to open back the economy, let everyone loose again, and say to the old people, if you want to protect yourself, we encourage you to stay at home, but we'll make sure that we have the young people working, keeping the economy going, so that you can get whatever you need, since you're old, can't go outside your house, and you're trying to protect yourself because you don't want to go that way. So the coronavirus is real, right? People are getting sick and people are dying. Okay, maybe not at the astronomical numbers as some countries are saying, and then there are other countries who are keeping the numbers like, artificially low in order for their people to not freak out. It's kind of hilarious how the whole world is going around with this right now. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the coronavirus. And until 1st of May, we were basically using masks outside and being very, clean, and we got to make sure that we don't get this virus, blah, blah, blah. 1st of May, we just completely don't give a rat's ass about it. We're very happy being free, taking off our masks, unless we're going into a public place where they require us to have it. And we've hired again our nanny, chef, whatever, and things are back to normal. So let's see. Trump pushing for vaccine lately is really throw people off, but he's doing this so that he can have full control of it. If he flat out oppose it openly, it'll be difficult. I agree. That's the thing. Like, you have to go along with a lot of things in order for you to get your most important things to get through. Do you understand what I mean? Like, you have to create win-win situations enough so that you can't completely oppose the establishment, and because then you'll just meet walls continuously on the things that you want. But if you meet people halfway and create win-win situations in order for your most important things to get through, that's what's important. So that's why it's very difficult to figure out Donald Trump and why he, flip-flops very often and things like that, because he needs the most important things to get through. I believe he'll be reelected as well. I'm Norwegian. Let's see. I'm asking, men of high value, should I invest in precious metals? All right, so here we go. We've got gold. I believe that it's going to be times 25 in terms of value, which means it's going to be approximately between 30,000 to 40,000 in the next few years per ounce. And this is what I'm basically looking at. These are the benefits of gold. It has been a store of value for millennia. For the entire time that the world has existed, gold has been it. Okay, so when the Roman Empire collapsed, the people who had gold were the ones who won. They were the ones who managed to stay rich. They were the ones who managed to keep things going for their families and for their livelihoods, and became massively wealthy because of it, because they're the ones who get people to work for them for cheap, etc., etc. And gold has always been the thing. Now that Bitcoin has come on the market, which was put in place after the last financial crisis in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto, and man, it's amazing invention. Okay, what Bitcoin has become is basically a decentralized entity, basically governed by millions of computers around the world who are mining, okay, Bitcoin mining, and they're solving difficult algorithms in order for there to be more Bitcoin. And when there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins, that's going to be it. There's not going to be any more Bitcoin after that, and it's going to be impossible to mine more. This is why the value of Bitcoin is exponentially going to increase, because there is a limit to it. Now, there's a lot of people who will say that Bitcoin is going to absolutely collapse because, there's no government that would ever allow it to work. And it's basically air. You can't do anything with it. Obviously the energy, it has energy costs, and in order for you to produce Bitcoin and in order for you to transact in Bitcoin, it takes a lot of electricity, etc. Understand that we're just at the beginning part of Bitcoin. We're also simply at the beginning part of figuring out how to get Bitcoin to work without that much energy. And it only requires innovation. It only requires teamwork in order to make that happen. Right? So So if we take that out of it, and then you have the other aspect, which is educating the public on how to use a decentralized entity, something that's difficult to use because no one knows how to use it. You kind of have to be a programmer to transact in it. And if you are not, then you basically have to pay huge fees to other exchanges in order for it to work for you. And that's ridiculous. When it's very simple, you just simply have to know it. But if you don't educate yourself on it, you're not going to learn it because it's decentralized. No one's forcing you to learn how to use it, but you will eventually be forced how to use it when mainstream begins to adopt it. Okay, so people might say that, why are you talking about Bitcoin? You explained that gold was going to, to be times 25 in value. I believe that Bitcoin will also have the same fate. So instead of thinking times 25 on Bitcoin, on gold, and 25 times on Bitcoin, how about we do half and half? Because you're going to have old people who don't understand crypto, who don't understand Bitcoin, who don't believe that Bitcoin could ever do it, because then the governments would not have control over it anymore. They wouldn't have control over the monetary policy, and it's impossible for Bitcoin to do all of that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Old people are going to think like that and realize that the oldest people know they're going to focus on gold, right? And realize that once the hyperinflation happens, there's no stopping it. And you don't think that, like, rich people are not going to allow their values to completely evaporate. They're going to put their money into precious metals immediately as soon as they see that the hyperinflation is happening, because right now it's getting worse before it gets better in terms of, okay, or in other words, right now it's getting better a little bit before it gets exponentially worse. It's a reverse thing right now with the dollar, because right now the dollar has been strengthened immediately. I'm here in Georgia, and it was for one Georgian lottery, or for you had to have 2.8 lottery in order to buy $1. But what happens is that suddenly there was a spike now in 3.2 Georgian lottery to $1. So there's been a spike of the dollar becoming more valuable because of the financial crisis, and everyone putting their money in dollars right now, which is what happens every single crisis. But what's going to happen is going to get exponentially worse, and you're going to see the dollar tank. When that happens, the dollar is going to exponentially increase because of the old rich people and the establishments, but you're also going to see Bitcoin because that's the youth money. That's the right now, when there's a complete financial collapse, you're going to see, in my opinion, there's going to be a dip with Bitcoin. It's going to lose its value because people are not going to have cash. And in order for them to get cash, in order for them to eat, they're going to pull out some of their Bitcoin continuously. And when that happens, you're going to have other people coming in. So it's not going to tank completely. It's not going to go to zero. It's not going to, maybe it's going to go back to 6,000. Maybe it's going to go back to 5,000. Who knows? But it might not. It might just exponentially increase right now to get to 10,000, to get to 20,000, to get to 50,000. But I believe for sure that it's going to hit 100K in the next few years. So anyway, everyone's disappeared when I start talking about monetary policy. This is what I wanted to share with you guys today. In my opinion, if I was to choose between gold and Bitcoin these days, I would choose Bitcoin, simply because of the storage of value. You simply need to know your passwords. You simply need to have a hard wallet instead of you allowing the exchanges to keep your money for you, because that can be lost anytime. But if you keep it yourself and you keep it in a hard wallet, and you have several hardware wallets, which is basically glorified USBs, then you set yourself up for success long term, in my opinion. And again, not financial advice. This is just entertainment purposes only. But understand the decentralization. Understand that governments can't stop it if there's millions of people using it. Understand that the governments can't take this money away from you ever. The only time they can take away money from you is if it's in the bank. The government can control the banks, and that's why they can steal your money. the government also, the old people say that, oh, well, Bitcoin, governments will never allow it and they'll put people in jail and stuff like that. And some countries are even doing that. But understand that April 5th, 1933, Roosevelt also made gold illegal to hold. That was the Great Depression. And this is going to be a worse condition than the Great Depression. So will we see that the government basically is going to illegalize gold as well? I don't think they will, because Trump will be in power and he will be reelected. However, if that's the case with Bitcoin as well, if there's millions of people doing it, you're not going to be able to stop it. So those are my thoughts. Hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next one.